God damn it. Hold on. Give me a sec. Hang on. Got to leave the studio. Hang on. Give us a sec, guys. Bit of technical difficulties on my end. Hang on.
Oh, it's gone.
Liam, if I'm going to mute my mic, I'm using the same thing because I know you heard about my thing. It sounds all right from your end?
You're all good now.
Yeah, maybe last week it was just like
something was like touching, or you'd knocked it at some point, and so the case wasn't on.
Yeah.
Alrighty, now we'll start. We're recording live. Been about 40 seconds, but let's go. Let's start. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics Tuesday night Q&A with a bit of technical drama right at the very beginning. So people on YouTube had a bonus 50 seconds, but people on the pod, nothing ever happened. So I'm just telling you anyway. But I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And we're recording live on Tuesday, the 29th of April, for anyone watching back on the video or listening back to the replay of the podcast. And joining me is my fellow co-host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic, Jordox. Jordox, mate, how are you? How was the weekend besides Friday night?
Yes, we won't talk about the Crows this week, but no, going well, mate. Had a good weekend of fantasy footy. It was a good weekend, wasn't it? High scoring, lots of teams putting up big scores. I was pretty happy with mine until I saw kind of what everyone else was doing, but that's okay. It was a good round for everyone, I think. So yeah, on to the next one, and yeah, some interesting decisions ahead. The season is about to get even more tricky.
Yeah, or you could say very interesting. Well, I'm hoping it is. Hopefully make my charge back up the ranks, and hopefully you can too, Jordox. We do have a couple of very high-ranked coaches jumping on with us tonight to give us a bit of credibility, because it was just me and Jordox. We'd have none because we're both outside the top 9,500. So we're joining us once again is our good friend Jordy Descender. Jordy, mate, how are you?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me on, Bales. Had a decent week, and keen to get stuck into trades. I'm a bit stuck, actually, so pretty keen to talk about some ideas we've got.
Yeah, exactly, mate. I'll come back to you and Jordox and get sort of recap of how your previous weeks went. And jumping on with us, another good friend of the show as well, is Free Kick Liam, and you could say almost a new member of the Hat Chat pod. He's been on back-to-back pods, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, I'm a bit part member. I'm doing my best Nathan Obermullet impression for a few weeks whilst he's away in Asia. So, yeah, look, my week fantasy-wise was, like, honestly, the team was fine, save for the fact that I just made some errors with my ease and getting my team all set up for Thursday night for a basketball game, meaning that, I fielded Hugo Garcia's 20 and wasn't able to field Xavier Lindsay's 98. So there's 78 free points just like I'm just giving to the people. Enjoy. And so I've dropped a few ranks as well. But look, the team's still fine. The team value is pretty good, and I'm feeling pretty good for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So we'll start off with you, Liam. Obviously, we're chatting to you now. So what did you end up scoring for the week, and what's your overall rank looking like? So
the overall rank I can remember off the top of my head, and that's 1,810. Score for last week was 2,185. Which is probably about 70 points below par for the top 150. And so that's kind of where my big rankings drop came from this week. So I dropped about 800 spots. But it's not like I'm looking at my side going, I don't know how I can make it better. So last week I traded in Ned Long and Jed Buslinger and got rid of Corey Warner and Christian Moraes.
Yeah, love it, mate. And a quick plus and minus 3 from your team?
+3. Well, I gave it to Isaac. Not Isaac Rankin. I gave it to Nazaya on Hat Chat. So I'll give it to Baslenka as my captain. And my -3 to a very frustrating calf knock for Nick Martin, which nixed his time on ground and meant that he just was not able to push up into stoppages as we have seen him do every game for the last 18 months.
Yeah, exactly. I think not listed on the Essendon injury report, which I guess is a good sign. Maybe might not have as much game time moving forward, just for the next maybe week or two. But yeah, he should still be fine. But then again, we know what injury reporting's like. Obviously, they're no Geelong, Essendon, but who knows what's going to happen. Jordy, how'd your week go, mate? I know you're going pretty nicely at the top there.
Yeah, I had a solid week. Got 2,272. I went up 24 spots to 166. So not too bad. I was obviously a bit disappointed with a couple of players, but I think the +3, maybe I'll give it to Gorn with the VC on the Thursday night. I traded in Petrarca as well, so that was a nice nice trade in. But I think my -3 will be Holmes. I heard on the Selby pod today that they reckon he might be carrying something because he just wasn't running as well as he looked 2 weeks ago against the Crows. And he wasn't really getting tagged, and he sort of had that role in the middle in the defense, but then we might be carrying something. So come out with a 65, he'll be the -3. But keen to chip away at what we do this week.
Yep, exactly. Those bloody Geelong defenders. He's no Tom Stewart, but he's unbelievable. Jordox, mate, how did your week go? What's your rank looking like?
Yeah, had a good score, 21.97, and I've jumped inside the 10K ranks, which is great. So I'm now ranked 9511. Hopefully, I can keep just creeping up on the rest of yous because had a poor start. But, that's good. Actually, you know what? If I could beat you, Bales, for the year, that'd be worth almost as much as I had.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, appreciate it. Plus and -3 for you.
+3. I'm going to give it to Xavier Lindsay. I just thought, I know he slowed down, but to put him on the field and not, what happened? Yeah, I looped Lawler and he wasn't great. So it's like, all right, Lindsay, it's all up to you. Yeah, 98. Bloody good.
Yeah. -3.
Well, I would have said Holmes as well, but Jordy took it. Good to know that it sounds like he's carrying something. Not good to know that, but just, I've been quite baffled, and I spoke about it on Finders Keepers this week, that the ball just keeps going past him. And, compared to what we saw that night in Adelaide in Gather Round, he's just a shell of that. So instead of him, I will give it to... last week was Timmy time. Week was Timmy time. Not Timmy time anymore. Yeah,
Timmy time in the first half.
Yeah, I know. He just stopped to a complete halt in the second half, and pretty disappointing. But I need to get rid of him at some point, so I'm sure that'll come.
Yeah, exactly. Alrighty, well, we'll get stuck into a heap of questions that the listeners are chucking through. So if you are tuning in live and would like a question answered or a player discussed or anything like that, then put in live chat. We'll answer as many as we can tonight. And if you are, watching the replay or listening back to the podcast, then how about join us live? We're live every Tuesday night for a Q&A around 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Perth time. We also obviously go to Friday nights or afternoon, and then our Sunday nights as well for our round review. So, tune in if you haven't already. Alrighty, so we've got a couple of super chats here, so we'll start off with these. So we got one from Jack Main. Thank you, mate, for seeing this through. He's going trainer down and Bustlinger, worried about Bustlinger and Davidson up to Petrarca, or focus on red dots, need to get up the ranks, need help. So, Liam, what would you focus on? Like trainer down to Bustlinger, I'm assuming that is on the bench, because obviously I know if it's on the field, we're definitely not doing it, but if it's on the bench, trainer down to Bustlinger and Davidson to Petrarca, or would you fix up some red dots?
I don't know how much I love the red dot fix-up options. And it's something that we talked about on Hat Chat last night, and I think it's a fairly common thread through all the group chats I'm in. Kind of, is there someone we can poach at below 700K? I think unless you haven't got Ned Long, you're really chancing your arm on something that's got, let's say, less than 50% chance of paying off. So you've got Brady Hoff at 530. You've got Carl Warner at 488. You've got Henry Hustwaite, who's mid 500s, all of whom come with serious risks. I'm all for making this one up, one down trade, knowing that there are some underpriced options coming. Mateus Filippo maybe back this week or next week. Same goes for Cadean and Coleman. Ideally, you'll get a week to watch them before needing to trade them in, but don't try and force yourself into a lower priced option this week where we know we've got something in the pipeline.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. A couple of other names that so well on this topic that because I had to look at this as well. Like, so I've looked at like a Hoff and a few other options. So Harvey Langford is just over 500k. Whether you can go into him or not, obviously he's made a bit of cash with the lack of rookies. You've got, I think Charlie Curnow's mid 600s, but key forward, you're confident in that. I think Connor McDonald is high 600s. He's dropped a bit because of that early injury that he copped, and obviously you got like your Dylan Moore sort of mid 700s. Is Liam any of those sort of guys that you consider, like any sort of name for? Because I guess people are in this boat, right? There might be if they got a Chera. I don't know if that's tonight or tomorrow, whenever that is happening. Don't know if he's got off yet or not. But if he's
Tomorrow.
not or whatever, tomorrow
night.
like people might be going down to someone to then make another move. And if they've already got Ned Long, is there someone you like, or is that maybe just forcing a move and there's not really anyone you're confident on?
I think it's a forced move if you're going to do it. Maybe Dylan Moore as the one player that we know who's averaged over 90 and can get close enough to the top 6 or top 8 blanket in their line. But I really think you're trying to force a trade. And I really don't think most teams should be trading out Adam Chera. I just categorically just don't think that it's the way to go this week. I think that he is scoring far too well. If he was averaging 10 points less, I think you could make the case that he's not close enough to top 8 for the midfielders or even the top 8 blanket. He's got his buy in 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, however long it is. Now you can afford to jump off. I just don't see that this week. He's averaging 100. That's completely fine for this time of the year. And we know it's only ever going to be 1 week. So it's actually super handy. You can use him as a loop and you can come back. I really advise against trading out Adam Chera.
Yeah. And I agree as well. And you guys made that point as well. And you made the point last night, Liam, that you said that if you can do 1 rookie down, 1 rookie up, you're getting the exact same amount of upgrades if you're trading a Chera out, but then you get potentially 2 premiums coming back into your team next week in terms of an upgrade and then an Adam Chera. So I'd probably agree with that as well. Got another super chat here from Exceptions. Thank you, mate. Thoughts on holding Davidson for rounds 14 and 15? So obviously this is obviously a little bit down the line, obviously, because you got the buy in round 12. But Jordy, any sort of early thoughts on that? Is Davidson someone you're happy to trade? Lack of rookies? Maybe do you hold him? What are you thinking?
I think Davo can go. I traded him last week. I think, he's probably topped at his price almost. He came out, he got 51, I think, but he kicked a goal real late for a +9. He probably was going to get a 40 last week. I think he can go. I don't think he needs to be held and that way you can actually get someone like a Petrarca. I did that last week. I think trade him.
Yeah, I'd be happy to trade him as well. And if he's on your bench as well, cash him in and look to get someone. I'm pretty. I think that Hugh Boxall is going to. I said this last week, and he didn't obviously play, but I think he'll make his debut this week with the Saints. Guesty is probably the one you'd say that's not going to be playing there, and Filippo might be back in and might be an option for us maybe next week to be looking at jumping on. Chris,
before we move
on,
Liam,
Bales,
I think the reason why you might ask this question is that wing defender matchups round 14, round 15 are St Kilda and Richmond. That's who Davidson would have. So I think that's the hitting at the kind of idea in the question. I would say that if you are looking to get in on a bit of that great run, Bailey Dale is probably a better option because it is a similarly bright green matchup for designated kickers. And he will probably be someone who can average a 90 or over 90, if not 100, for a 3-game stretch if you were to trade him in after his bye. So I wouldn't be thinking, I want to keep Davidson for that. I'd be thinking, they've got their bye in round 12. I can get someone in round 13, round 14 and get in on that.
Yep, I like it. Chris Gow's got a super chat. Thank you, mate. Jordox will go to you for this one. Tick off Fletcher and Davidson to Nick Dayos and Hugh Boxall, basement rookie placeholder, but I do think he will play this week. Also, Bales, I decided to go against you and got Pickett worst on field. Well, what's the saying? A broken clock's right twice a day. So there you go. But Jordox, what are your thoughts? So actually, firstly, I want to get your thoughts. Nick Dayos, 1.09 million, priced at 110 or 111. Is it too late? Is he too expensive? And should we be going for cheaper options?
No. Get him. If you want him, get him. I might have a different view on that to maybe the general consensus about chasing value, but just get him. He's looking like blowing the whole world up this year, Dayos. So if he's under 1.1, I mean, you got to think about what these prices mean compared to years gone by. Like, it sounds like a lot, and it is 1.1 mil, but it is mostly relevant to how everything's been going up. So, think back to a few years ago. It's like, is 900K too much to pay? Should we just be looking at 700K guys? Value is great, and value is, essentially the name of the game. You grab guys when they're value, and then you'll sell them for more. But sometimes you just have to get someone before they get away from you. And I put Dayos in that boat, and I put Whitfield in that boat.
Yeah, so I guess that's why the price stat figure I think is the more important number than the price, because obviously everything's gone up, and I think he's priced at 110, 111. Do you think it's probably simple as like you're bringing him in? I guess you're thinking he's going to go closer to the 115 marker, right?
Yeah, I mean, anyone that's watched in the last few weeks, he is going to another level. Certainly in the way he's scoring in fantasy. I mean, we've seen him dazzle us before, but the way he's accumulating fantasy points now feels different to years gone by. We talk about him like he's been around forever. What is this, third year, fourth year? He's still just a baby. But in terms of what he's doing right now, he is hot. And yeah, I want to find a way to get on. The only problem is, wanting to and having the funds to do it are two different things. And I think, Chris, if you're keen on him and you got a trade lined up like that, I would tick that off for sure.
Liam, did you want to? I know Liam and Jordy want to say something here. So
Yeah,
Liam, I'll go to you first.
I just wanted to query the need for Dayos to go at 115 in order to want to get him this week. I think the more important question to ask is, if you feel that he is a guarantee top 4 mid, top 5 mid, and he were to just average 110, which I think it would be fairly likely given what we saw the top mids averaging last year, then it's more a trade where you say, I'm not looking to make lots of value. I'm looking to avoid another trade later down the year, on top of everything George was saying about the fact he can take the game away from you. Even if he's going to average 112 for the rest of the year, I think it's enough. It's also a case of his ownership within the kind of top 100, 1K, 10K, getting increasingly higher. It's going to be increasingly difficult to stay at those ranks without him. If he continues to just go above at 105, 110, that's going to be tough to beat. So that's why I think that the need for him to go at 115 is lessened. If he just goes at what he's priced at for now, you're fine. And you can move on to next week knowing you can differentiate then.
Yeah, and I just used the 115 number just as he's priced at 110. You want a few points of upside, get closer towards the 115 marker. But yeah, no, I do like that point. Jordy's not Jordox, Jordy.
Yeah, I'm very scared of Dayos. I don't own him, and a lot of teams have him. And I was looking at this a couple years ago. Do you remember when Took Miller and Jack Steele were probably about this range, and everyone said, oh, there's no way they can sustain this. I'm going to try and trade in other guys. And what did they do? They ended up just going, was it 120? I mean, I'm not saying Dayos is going to go 120, but sometimes these guys is I know that he's pretty priced, but he doesn't look like slowing down. And I don't want to, I'm considering getting him because I'm in a position where I don't want to miss that almost if I can see him doing that. So, yeah, that's sort of where I was looking at. I just think it just I've just got a little feeling it's reminding me of that Steel took, and that year I got Steel, and it was, and also you get the VC and C option as well, which is a double choice. So I think if Chris can do it, I think it's a good trade.
Yeah, I like it as well. And Laird, the other example as well, the year after. Just blasphemy that you didn't even use Laird before. Two could steal. But no, yeah, very, very good points there. And yeah, if you can get Dayos, I still don't mind it. Camo's got a super chat. Thank you, mate. Get Sheasel and field Levi Ashcroft or Nick Dayos and field Jackson Price. So I'll go to Liam as the Essendon man there. What are your thoughts on Pryor moving forward? And what do you think about the question from Camo there?
Look, I think Levi Ashcroft's the player that we feel more comfortable in saying could score a 90. But I think that's the less important part of this trade. The more important part of this trade is the player that you're bringing in. I have actively considered Harry Sheasel this week. I'm leaning towards not trading him in because of the overbalancing or over-indexing in round 12 bye players. But there is a case to be made that if we don't think that Caleb Daniel is going to be a top 6 forward, then maybe there's a potential trade out in round 12, and then you might be able to be better balanced. That's where my brain immediately went with this question. I think Levi Ashcroft, let's say he scores a 72 this week. I think Jackson Price scores a 65. That's a much of a muchness. The difference between Sheasel and Dayos for the last 3 weeks has been, 30 points or around? Kind of shows you where your priority should be. So I think the question is, do you think Sheasel is going to be able to score highly enough and stay in that full back role? In that back role? Is his break even high enough that even if he does score well, you'll be able to get him again at the same price? Or is Dayos someone where you go, he's got too expensive now. I've missed the run. I need to go for someone different.
Yeah. Jordy?
Yeah, just like the thing I'm looking at is Levi plays the last game this week. Now, I doubt he'll be sub or he gets subbed off, but I'm just trying to mitigate every single scenario. So say it gets to that last game at 650 and Levi's your sub, who can you put on field? Like I think he'll be fine, but I'm looking at trading Levi this week. And I also really like Harry Sheasel. I think he's getting a lot of talk in the media. I don't know whether that would be a good thing for him or not, but
Volcano starting to
and I think some of it's a bit unfair, and
some of it is fucking ludicrous.
Yeah, he's gone too far.
Kane Corns is outrageous at the minute.
Yeah, it's gone too far on the north and Sheasel. Like Sheasel's a gun, and he's played 50 games. It was 51 game on the weekend. And he lines up at halfback. I just think I think he's a really good trade in. But I guess for me, I'm worried about Levi. So I'm looking at trading Levi. Just like this, it probably won't happen, but it's just like that we didn't think Trainer was going to do that, but people got stuck with that. So just like looking at your team and what you can do, potentially. That's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, obviously I disagree with what Kane called the same, but almost if I'm looking at bringing Sheasel in, that could be a massive score. Maybe go out there and get a few extra touches there.
I'd be staggered. I'd be staggered if Harry Sheasel gave.
He doesn't care.
A hoot. What Kane Corn says, and it impacts him at all. Just last thing on it, I just with the fielding, Ashcroft or Pryor, you get to have a look at Pryor on Thursday night. So if you can loop, you might have another defender that. You might get 2 bites at the cherry. That's not the expression.
Yes, it is.
2 bites at the cherry. Oh, it is. Oh, great. Yeah, you might get 2 bites at the cherry, lads. Done.
Yeah. Except I butchered the one of the sayings on my video from yesterday. I'm not going to go into that one. Liam, did you want to say something else? So you put your hand up.
I was just going to say if I've got 30 seconds, Kane Corns' comment about Josh Simkin is one of the most hatefully moronic things that I've seen in a long time, saying, what's this bloke doing having a go at JHF? He's the captain of his club. He's not even good enough to get into the midfield. Kane, where the fuck is Connor Rosie playing? Where is he right now? Is he in the midfield?
No, you know what?
No, he's off halfback to get a cheap kick.
This has got nothing to do with Simkin. It's got nothing to do with Sheasel. This is Kane Corns and his beef with the North fans, and it's beyond petulant. And the less space and time we give to it, probably the better. So
I just had that pent up for like 24 hours. Bales, I'll give you a fantasy show back. I needed to get it out somewhere. It was moronic.
No one would agree with what he's just Anyway.
Yeah.
We'll talk
And
about it
we just got a comment. Kane Corns is tuning in live. G'day, Kane.
Yeah.
Bailey Lolicitas has got the next super chat. Super chat's flying through here. Thank you guys. The little bit extra support there. So is Farrell more of a priority trade out, especially in Ballarat against Dogs this week, over an Ashcroft or Davidson type? Can do the same trades in with Garcia and Ashcroft out. However, if I trade Farrell and Trainer gets pushed to the bench. So, Jordy, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I was thinking about, so Rosie's gone a half back. So is that affecting Farrell? He obviously had 100 the week before when Rosie also did well. So it's a bit up and down. What I've noticed with Port is we're trying to play skinnier, apparently is the term. And sometimes Farrell, I think he's just in the wrong spot. He's getting in the middle, but he's just in the wrong spot is what I've heard. But I do think Rosie back there. So I don't know if it's a priority. Just having a look at the super chat.
Bales, while you have a look, I just want to say with Farrell, trading out Farrell, I actually think, I wouldn't call it a priority, but I think it is more important than trading out Ashcroft Davidson. And I'll explain why. Ashcroft and Davidson, you're going to trade out eventually. Yeah, like guaranteed. Unless, one of them goes and starts scoring tons every week, it does happen. But essentially, in principle, you're trading them out anyway. Farrell could seduce you this week with a 90, and then you hold him, and then he sticks you with another 60. I think get off of Farrell. His last 5 weeks have been 60, 60, 60, 100, 60. At this point of the year, you just can't have a guy that's not a kid putting 60s as a regular score, as a score that doesn't surprise you. So he scores 60, you're not even surprised. Get him out.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah,
which is why actually I'll sort of so I think trading a Farrell could be a good play as well. If you don't have a Ned Long, Bailey, maybe you could go an Ashcroft or Davidson to a Ned Long, and can you still maybe get an upgrade on the other end? That might be something. I don't know if you've got Ned Long or not there, but that could be an option. But you sort of, Jordox, you mentioned there about players dropping the 60s. I had Sam Taylor, right? But he's my friend next. He's not playing in my team. He's gone over 7 in the last 3 weeks, which is fantastic. But my new best friend, Tom Stewart. So a lot of people have got Tom Stewart out there, and we're sort of discussing whether we should be trading or holding. Jordox, where do you sit with the? I'm keen to get everyone's thoughts because a few people here are asking about Tom Stewart and what we should be doing. Should we be continuing the upgrade cadence and upgrading Ashcrofts and Davidsons and guys like that, or trading a guy like a Stewart? What do you think, Jordox? I'll go to you first.
I think what I told you when we caught up in Gather Round, when Stewart was the laid out and you were trading out Taylor. I said, keep Taylor, get rid of Stewart now. But you didn't listen. But seriously, no, I think Stewart is, in the same sort of theme as what I was saying about Farrell. But worse. He's a liability, Tom Stewart. And I don't know what else really can be said about him. I mean, he does this to us every year. I guess it depends on your side and what sort of kids are you rocking. But if you're talking about trading out, Davidson or an Ashcroft, I'd still be moving Stewart before them.
Jordy?
Yeah, I think this week's a tricky week with the rookies. Like, ideally you'd go one rookie down, say Boxall's names, then I think that is probably the idea. Say, okay, Boxall's in, we should probably keep doing the rookies. But I think if there's no rookies, then do you go, okay, like you said, we're talking about Long and stuff. Is that a week to be able to fix up like a Farrell, which came up before, or a Stewart? Because if there's no rookie that's coming through, like personally, I don't know if I think Boxall might play, but I've got a feeling he could be sub. Like I feel like Garcia will get dropped and Boxall will be the sub. And I think Philippou comes in for Wood and Philippou plays forward. But I mean, we'll have to see teams. But if Boxall is sub, then I don't know if we can
plays Friday night, so we get
plays Friday night, so we'll know. So do we go into it? But other than that, like, could you, if you haven't got a Matt Carroll, could you go a Carroll to get the cash gen and then fix up a Stewart? So I don't really know where I sit with it. The thing is, Bowser, you've had Stewart from the start of the year, so you always want to be strong. You'd hate to trade him now and then he does well. So
or just don't
yeah.
watch the long games because it's just I'm sitting there just waiting for him to go down. Like that's what it's been like this year. The only enjoyment I got was actually when we were at the Friday Night District with the Melbourne game, and he just kept getting these. But that was an obscene amount of marks. So it's like the good games he's had this year were against Freo when he got injured already, but they scored a heap of points, a lot of marks. Then Melbourne. Besides those 2 games, he hasn't done anything. Obviously, he's been injured and missed games. So, Liam, obviously, I know you as the person that was telling me I should have traded out Sam Taylor. I should have listened to you, mate. Where are you sitting with Tom Stewart?
Okay, I just need to let's break this down bit by bit. Bales, you should have stopped thinking about Sam Taylor's average after round 1. The fact that he's now scoring 80s, I don't care. He's so far gone from my team. He became Xavier Lindsay. Xavier Lindsay is still making me bulk cash. Stop worrying about whether or not he's going to score 80. Stop relying on players who need intercepts to score. Second thing, on Tom Stewart, I do think it comes down to, where do your cash generation options sit at the moment? I think that if you haven't got Jed Bustlinger, I think it's totally fine to go rookie down to Jed and either use that cash on top of Stewart or on top of another rookie. I don't think Stewart is going to come back for quite a while to the scoring that we liked from him in bits of last year. There's a 9-game stretch in the middle of the year where he averaged 73. That's about what he's doing at the moment. And it's because that he's not the main pivot player. He's not the main intercept marker. He is not the key distributor. The fact that Lawson Humphreys never needs to run towards the boundary and kick off his opposite foot because he is so two-sided is such an overpowered cheat code for Geelong. That means that he is now the primary distributor off halfback. You've got Max Home when he's healthy running. You've got Baz Lenker when he's healthy running. And the fact that
Sullivan, Zach Guthrie.
Connor O'Sullivan is hoppier than Tom Stewart is at the moment with an injured knee. And you've got Zach Guthrie, who's more than capable. And this is before you get to the fact that he is just one contact with the turf away from going off for a quarter. I don't see a path back to good scoring for a while. Now, when did he score well? And this is a point I made on Hat Chat. It was last year was when he went into the midfield and drifted behind the ball. If you think about the midfielders for Geelong at the moment, the role that Tom Stewart played last year is the role that Tom Atkins is playing at the moment. Tom Atkins leads the competition for tackles. He's getting praise. He got 10 coaches' votes a few weeks ago, having a career year, highest player rating of his career, and he's in a contract year. I don't think he's kicking out Tom Atkins, so I don't think the midfield role is coming unless something injury-related happens at Geelong.
But he's injured. He's injured as well. He's not going to go in the midfield if he's injured at the moment. They want to keep him on the ball and as least amount of contact as possible.
He's not in a good place. I would trade him. I don't see a path back to points. As much as you don't want to lock in those losses. The sunk cost fallacy is a fallacy for a reason, and you need to assess the way that he is playing at the moment. And that is someone who is not going to score enough to make it worth your while. I'm not looking to trade him in. All the people that are saying, "Yep, I've got my finger on the pulse," he is down the list of players that I want to trade in. I'd have James Sicily 10 every single day of the week and twice on Sundays as a trade-in target in defence before Tom Stewart, even with 100k difference.
Yeah,
I'd go.
That's what I thought you were going as well. I thought you were going to say you'd rather trade in the boy you just berated before going into Tom Stewart, but I dare say you'd almost rather Taylor at the moment, to be honest. But yeah, it's a tricky one, and I might have to jump ship. Tim Ashworth, do you see my first super chat? No, I didn't actually. Sorry about that. Oh, there it is. There, Tim Ashworth saying, "Can you please check my team on Patrons and give me a hand?" I could have a look at that after Tim when we finished recording, mate. But message me on Patreon and we can sort something out there. But appreciate the super chat, mate. Patrick McDonald, super chats here. Not being able to get the other questions. People are sending through all these super chats. Thank you very much for that. So Patrick McDonald, Jordox, getting rid of Pryor and Garcia. Got 1.68 million. Who do I prioritise to get? So Sheasel, Short, Roberts, Bice, Trainer, and X. Smith, McRae, Rankin, Daniel, Levi, and X. I guess we're just going with which 6 would you prefer in your team?
So is he saying that X is the guy that he's getting?
It's a bit confusing. I'm not quite sure.
I think that I think all the players named, I think, are who he's got at the moment. And then the X is the player that he's going to get with the 1.68.
Okay.
So it's either a forward or a defender, I think.
Well, if you got Pryor and Garcia, if both are on field, you could go like Ned Long, and then you still get $1 million player there. Or you could go a couple of maybe a Dylan Moore for one, and then you could go maybe someone in the 900s like a Josh Dayos, maybe. That's probably just off the top of my head. Yeah, tricky one there, Patrick. Or if one's on your bench, you go down to a rookie and you go the other one up and you go get yourself a Sheasel or a Dayos or someone like that, I think. So apologies, couldn't be more help. Just, a little tiny bit confusing there, but appreciate the super chat nonetheless. Tony Ford, super chat. Thank you, mate. So, Jordox, I will go to you for this one. Thoughts on Reed and Davidson to Boxall and Petrarca? Or would you trade Trainer over Reed? The other one would be at D6.
I like those moves.
Trainer,
I think they work. Trainer or Reed. Oh, geez, I've had some thoughts on Reed a lot this year, and I've been wrong nearly every time. I keep underestimating his ability to score as a key defender, but I probably still would lean towards holding Trainer. But in saying that, maybe you just play the break-even game. Is Trainer's break-even still out of control because of that? 54.
Yeah.
And Reed?
Reed is 30-something, 32, 36.
Yeah. Okay.
And the key thing to remember with Trainer is that I think that his scoring will be down with Noah Bolter in the team, both because that's an extra body there, and also Noah Bolter just loves to hoof the ball as far as he can. Screw this like chipping around possession style. Just kick it to the other team and let me defend.
It would be good to have a look at the two of them together before having to make the call. Hey,
I agree. I'm a bit worried about. I'm trying to get Trainer off field this week just because of the Bolter move. Like, if Bolter comes in, does that make Trainer the 7th defender off the bench? Like, I don't know where he fits. And if he's the 7th coming off the bench, like he started on there this week, is that going to impact his scoring? And then, when I watched that game, as you said, Lynn, the week before, Bolter just marked it and then he just banged it straight down. And there's no chip. So I don't know. I'm looking at I want to get a defender this week. I just want to bench Trainer. And also they play Sunday at 2:50. So it's like, I doubt he's going to be sub, but if he is, I've got nowhere to go. So I sort of like Reed, especially Thursday night. I think I sort of like him at D6 this week.
You get a look as well if you've got
and you get you get a look at it. So
yeah,
I'd probably trade Trainer over Reed, even though he's just put numbers on the board. But yeah, that's just sort of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. Be interesting to see what happens with Trainer's break even, with obviously the 2 being a couple of games ago. If the further it gets away, if that sort of starts to get lower, but he's obviously got to go at a 70 sort of plus rate to really sort of start, a bit like what Lindsay did, right? It's got to go like an 80 or a 90 to really sort of get that cash moving forward. So yeah, I'm even looking at, maybe I got some flexibility. If I was to bring in a Shizu in midfield, I can switch a few things around. I'm even looking at a Cleary over Trainer this week just for a bit of flexibility there. So looking at that. But yeah, Tony, probably keep Reed with the lower break even, I would say. Good matchup. Yeah, Liam?
Are you saying Cleary out, or are you bringing Cleary?
No. On field. But switch a few things around.
Geez,
Put Trainer.
Like, no.
Yes.
What are you doing? No.
Yes, I may have held Sam Taylor for too long, but I'm not that silly.
The way you phrased it, I was just like, I just want to confirm you're not suggesting to trade out Caden Cleary this week.
Yes, no, definitely not. Pete Zahoot, I hope I've got that right, Pete. Apologies if I haven't. Trade Reed or Trainer only a audio. So yes, we obviously answered that. So Pete, thank you for the super chat there, and hopefully we gave that there. Lachlan Grace in the super chat, no message, just sending a super chat there. Thank you, mate. Very much appreciate that. Chris has got a super chat here. Geez, these super chats fine. I want to get to some other questions people are in. So we'll do these last couple of super chats, then we'll get to the other questions people leave in there. Chris says, I need 35K to get Sanders to Petrarca. Do I just wait for teams to drop for a rookie to be named, or can I go Sarong or Oliver to Ned Long? So, Jordy, what are your thoughts on... So Sarong and Ned Long are obviously not getting it done, but obviously that's I guess, not quite the norm of, like, we're trying to go rookies down, right? But what are your thoughts on one of those two down to a Ned Long to fund another move?
This is hard. Hey, I don't know who it was, which pod, but I feel like someone talked about doing this down to Long, and I was just like, it just sort of threw me. Maybe it was the traders actually, and they were like, "Oh, you could go down to Long." Sarong is one that's like, he's a gun player. He's not looking bad. He's just not getting the marks and tackles. Like he had 32 disposals, so he's still like he's looking good. He's just not getting the points with the game style. So I feel like I would keep Sarong. Oliver is a worry though, because I don't know if he caught the game, but he started on the bench, I'm pretty sure. He had low time on ground. He scraped his way to the 84. So there is a world, he looks slow. There is a world where you could potentially get rid of Oliver. I just don't, can you go him down to Long? I mean, yeah, I know, yeah, I've heard like there are people trading Oliver, I think, this week. But if you only need 35K to get Sanders to track, surely there's another way you can just switch a rookie.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Like,
Yeah,
it's not,
just
yeah,
go
it's
down
not
to like
much,
a box or whatever.
Yeah, I think I would do that, and then I would wait one more on. I think I'm holding Sarong. I'm keeping, and then potentially you can look at Oliver next week. And like, if he doesn't, like, I don't know if he's got a Matt Carroll, but like if you've got a Pryor or a Reed or a Trainer, you could just go one of them to Matt Carroll. Like say Chris has got busting it last week. Matt Carroll's going to make money, and that you're going to get your 35K. So I think that's what I would do.
Yeah. Or as Liam mentioned him before, but Carl Warner, 488, just under 500. You go a Pryor or a Reed or someone down, you get yourself the 35K if you're more confident in a Warner there. But the one thing with Oliver that is the concern is the first month he started off with 5, 5, 3, and 5 marks. The last 3 weeks he's gone 2, 1, and 2, and that is with Melbourne chipping it round. So that's the interesting thing for me. That I'm not in a position to be trading Oliver, but it's something to definitely watch. So yeah, but don't mind it. But
he's just not passing the eye test at the moment. And I don't know if anyone follows James Ives, kind of a Twitter statistician, data visualization guy. Came out with a little data viz today, just talking about how often a player is gathering the ball at stoppage, and then how far they are bursting away from that stoppage in distance on average. Clary has one of the highest numbers for gathers, and he's with the rucks for how far he looks to move away from stoppage. Like it's less than a meter. Some of the best are 5 meters. It's Chad Warner. It's Finn Callahan. It's Jordy. I don't know if you saw that earlier today. I'm trying to remember who else. He's just not moving away from stoppage. He doesn't spread at the moment. If it's not a tackle, if it's not a handball receive or a little quick handball, it's a real tough scoring gig for him. He's well and truly on the chopping block, and could be someone that kind of within the next month is on the way out. And then for Sarong, I think if I had him, I'm just going to hold him until round 13. It's a perfect time to then maybe do a cheeky downgrade for someone who can score as well as him, if not a little bit better, in that round 13 bye for someone who's come out of their bye in round 12.
Yeah. Or you got a bond if you want to go up as well on that round 12 bye. Jordy?
Just on this Sarong thing, they come up against Saints this week. Windhager's going to tag, right? My thoughts are Windhager's going to go straight to Brayshaw, but Ross has always targeted Sarong, and Sarong is actually I know he's not scoring in fantasy, but he is playing well. So, is Windhager going to Sarong or is he going to Brayshaw? So
it depends on how much of a change with the weeks Ross is going to be. And honestly, predicting what Ross is going to do week to week is the toughest thing in the AFL at the moment. Because Brayshaw's game was probably the best game of almost any player on the weekend. But I'd say that Caleb Sarong over the last 18 months is a top 3 player in the AFL with his ability to win the ball and hit targets out of stoppage and find ways to get the ball moving forward. If it hasn't been through him, then Fremantle haven't looked good. It's a really tough one to predict, but I still think that we also saw that. What's his name? Lockie Neal had a Windhager tag. Didn't seem to worry him too much last week.
Yeah, they kind of moved it around. I feel like Windhager moved from quarter to quarter because Rayner went berserk in the first quarter, and then they tried to shut him down. So Windhager's the sort of tagger that's just going to move to the hottest player. So it's kind of hard to base anything around that. But just wrapping up the question, I mean, I'll be honest, I looked at Oliver to long last week, which would have funded my Petrarca upgrade, and I just wish I had the balls to do it because it would have been brilliant. So I'd support that move.
You've been off Clary for a while. I remember we had this debate in round 2 or round 3 with a question, and you said you like don't get Oliver in, you don't get. So very interesting.
He wasn't a must-have. That's all I said. Hey, before you move on, Lachlan Gray put up a super chat that was blank. He's then clarified that he actually put it separate. So I'll just read that out. We can do his now.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. No, happy to go. Yeah.
So what he meant to put with his super chat was Lawler to Josh Dayos or Davidson to Lockie Ash, Wanganeen Miller or Zorko. That's the question.
In terms of that one, I'm just going to say I don't like the Lockie Ash trade in personally. I don't know the injury report. I didn't see he wasn't injured. He was obviously injured on the AFL Fantasy app, but it's not on the injury report or anything like that. So
he's grouped Ash in terms of his option. He's grouped Ash with Nasiah and Zorko. So I think I'd go Wanganeen.
You definitely rather the other two. I'm just saying with the Ash thing, Giants are playing bad. It's not. I don't think it's sustainable for him and Whitfield to be going at this rate. You don't see many teams that have got these two half backs. I think this is a little bit like the Jordan Clark, Luke Ryan of last year. They'll change a bit. He'll still average 85, 90, I think, but I'm not looking at him. And people know my thoughts on the Nasiah one. I don't know if I'd necessarily trade into him with the lower game time. He looked great. I think more tags going to go his way, but he's obviously such a good player.
What about Zorko?
I'm almost thinking Zorko is a 3 personally, but
yeah.
I might be wrong. So, Liam, is any thoughts on? I know you and Jordy both read the game like really, really well. But what are your thoughts on the Nasiah in the midfield role? And if you had to pick one of him, Zorko or an Ash or a Josh Dayos, where would you go?
I don't think I'm going to look at Josh Dayos. I think he had an oversized market share last week. With Houston scored what, a 50? I think that
70. Like, surely that's not going to continue for Houston.
Look, Nick farms the ball to Josh and Josh because Nick knows he'll get the ball back from Josh. So there's a reason why there might be a little bit of a tailwind there because Nick loves himself with the ball. This is the hardest thing to read, right? I actually don't think Nasiah Wanganeen Miller is a great midfielder. And then I rewatched. I didn't get to watch the game live, St Kilda against Brisbane. All I got to do was come off at halftime from a football game and see that Hugo Garcia had been subbed out in the second quarter, which is depressing, of a game that I was playing and losing. I did not think Nasiah Wanganeen Miller was as good as a midfielder, and then he looked incredible last week in the second half. Yeah. Like
you were talking about, I know you were talking about the player ratings from first half to second half. Yeah,
fantasy sense, just exceptional. I think that even if he does get a tag, he's probably still going to be able to drift onto halfback, and he knows how to work in those parameters, and will be able to break it. For so long as he's not playing midfielder forward, which is what he played at times in the third quarter in that game in Gather Round, where I was just like, nah, this is real bad. Like, he's just going to get lost. He's being asked to crack in as the fourth mid, and he's just not that kind of player. I think that Nasiah at the moment is the best football player of the three, and so I might lean towards going there. And the reason why I might slightly question Zorko is I think we've seen this year that there's a little bit of a role shift. I think Jasper Fletcher's a much better ball user than they had off halfback in that grouping last year. We know that Wilmot's capable of a pop score, and then you've got Kitty Coleman coming back.
Kitty Coleman, yeah.
I don't think, though, that any of Nasiah, either of Nasiah or Zorko are going to be bad, though. So I personally lean Nasiah, but I could be swayed and wouldn't poo-poo anyone who picked in the alternative.
Yeah, and you got people out there might be saying like, you don't want us to get like Nasiah. I want Nasiah to go well. I've got him. I want him to go really well. I guess I'm just flagging that like the low time on ground is the thing that's concerning me because if he goes off and doesn't score many points when he's on, then it's going to be a low score. But maybe that was just a If his tank can improve, maybe in the next couple of months, maybe he plays more. But that's my only flag. And then we also see like training, I think today, Sinclair playing mid forward. I think Nasai was still with the defenders in the mids. So it's pretty interesting to see what happens moving forward. But I'll preface this in saying I think if you can get Harry Sheezel over all of them, I'm going Harry Sheezel with one of my top couple of targets this week. So that's what I'm looking at. Yeah, exactly.
And then the trade out too that he was asking was Lawler or Davidson, and I'd say Davidson over Lawler to trade out.
Yeah, I'd agree. We have a super chat from the man himself, Tom Stewart. Trade me in, guaranteed tons rest of season. So a few people noticed. I started giggling when that came through.
That's compelling. He puts forward a good case. Maybe I should consider him.
He does, but also, has he ever been in my shoes watching a Geelong game, owning him, the man he speaks, the man that sent the message? It is very, very stressful. It's even more stressful than just wanting Sam Taylor to take an intercept mark to get to 50.
We've reached the cap of Sam Taylor mentions for a podcast. That's it. We're done.
We got a couple of switches here as well. So we got Bailey Lodisi's got another one. Trade into the same whether Farrell goes or not. Jacos and Long are coming in. It's more who scores more. And would you rather train a D6 or D7? So what was it?
I'm going train a D7 this week. I don't know. I'm worried.
Yeah.
I'd be able to bench. It's probably fine.
It's against the Hawks, right? It's not like it's an easy matchup.
It's probably fine, but yeah, I don't know. Like Bolter, I don't know. Like I just don't know. It's just
we want to see. He's got two good matchups from next week. He's got I think Eagles and North after that, which are fine. But yeah, maybe try and bench him this week, or even trade him out as we said before. Leroy Point Andrew's got a super chat. Thank you, mate. Best option out of Noble, Bowie, Ash, and Whitfield. So, Jordy, what are your thoughts on? Obviously, you've got the three cheaper guys. Noble, who has been fantastic, probably what we thought Rioli was going to be, but he's got the Darwin games coming up. Bowie, it's been great, fantastic. Obviously, he's got a tougher run coming up, but he looks like one of the main guys back there. Ash raised my concerns, and then Whitfield, so expensive. Where would you be going out of these four?
Yeah, I mean, to me, out of those four, the best point scorer is Whitfield. He's going to be D1, so he's the best out of them. But you're right, he's quite highly priced. I'm not sure what he's priced at. I'm not sure if Liam can get that up.
116, 117.
Yeah, that's a lot.
1.159
to pay at this time of the year. Is a lot, but you could use him as a captain option. I really like Ash. I think he's coming up again and again. He's just sort of proving is he top six? If he's not top six, he's probably the seventh or eighth guy around the mark. So I like Ash as well, but I'm looking at this today. Imagine if he started Noble, Bowie, and Ash. That would probably be the picks of the season.
Last night, Jordy. Yeah, we chatted about that last night. Yeah,
that was amazing. I just don't know whether Noble and Bowie getting it done, but I think I'd be going Ash or Whitfield. That's just me personally.
Yeah. So Whitfield's priced at 117.3. I just wanted to say something, Dales. The Darwin games. Just thinking about what happened there last year. I just wanted to say that in terms of transition points or turnover points, which is quite often where Noble and Rioli will score the most, they were the third and fourth highest point totals for turnover points for Gold Coast in any game last year. And that meant that there was massive scores to Flanders, massive scores to Noah Anderson. I think Will Powell wasn't playing. Sexton had one game.
It was like a 115 or 130 or something, yeah.
Pop score. I don't worry too much about those Darwin games per se. And in fact, I think that Gold Coast just are better acclimatized and can play faster and have more space and therefore can just dominate on turnover and in transition. So I would not be using that as a mark against Noble. And in fact, if anything, last year showed I don't like reverse fixture scouting. I don't like ground scouting, but I just don't think it's a mark against him. I think that for me, it's going the kind of. I'm still with Jordy though. I think that it's Ash or Whitfield. Whitfield price at 117, I don't think that's what he's going to average for the rest of the year. But also, we've kind of seen Jaiden does his worthwhile averages kind of spreadsheet every year, table every year. Once you get up above 115, that's all they need to score. If that's what they're priced at, that's all they need to average for them to be a smash pick for your team. So I think at this stage, picking Whitfield is totally fine. If he can get up that high, he's the most expensive player, but he's also the most likely to stay locked in at the top of his line. He breaks tags. He's experienced. There are a few players that yell more for the football than he does. He does an excellent job of finding space just in little zones. So I can't fault picking him, even if it's not the perfect value option. I just don't think that most teams can get even close to getting him because he's so expensive.
Yeah, that another thing I was going to say is that this is a good point, and I would highly encourage, if anyone hasn't, checking out DT Lemon's Patreon. His podcast on the Monday, assessing teams, was one of the best podcasts I've listened to this year. The amount of info, I'm going to listen to it a second time, and I don't normally do that with podcasts just because there's so many. I listen to one, and then sort of that's good to go. But fantastic pod, check it out. If your team value is like mine and it's shit at around 22.1 or just under, I wouldn't be going Whitfield. You've got to be looking for a bit of value. But if you are in the Jordies or the DT Lemons, I'm not sure, Liam, what your team value is. But if you've got like the high 22 millions, maybe 23s, I think you might be able to afford to potentially go a Whitfield because your team value is in a good spot. So, yeah, very, very interesting there.
I actually went and got everyone's team value rank before coming on. So
did Jordy ask you for this? Because I know Jordy was tempted to.
Jordy gets it from me every week, so it's not as though it's a surprise that it might come up in conversation. And it's also because he's ranked 137th. So yeah, no shit, it's going to crop up from time to time. I am at 1,257th. Shout out to Guesty, who's the highest of the Fanatics at 7,723rd. Jordox.
He's good with his money.
At 15,856th.
Oh, here we go.
And then, Bales, you are out at 18,127th for team value.
Yeah.
And for reference, top 100 for team value is at 22.9 mil, give or take. 1,000 is 22.695, and 5K is 22.4 mil. So just give you some indication of kind of the rankings for team value at the minute.
I would have preferred that we didn't go through that because that makes me the most depressed person. I'm 800K behind the top 100. I'm ranked poorly. My team value's cooked. My season's cooked. Simple as that. Thanks.
Do it again for us next week, Liam.
No worries, Jordox. I'll make sure
I get a regular segment.
Into you.
Yeah. Beautiful. No, it is very, very good information. Thank you, Liam. Because there's so many questions here, we've had so many super chats, haven't been able to go through as many of the other questions. Put your question back in. We'll go live about another 10 minutes or so, and we'll get to as many questions as we can, a bit of rapid fire. So if you want to chuck your question in again, feel free. Tom Stewart has asked, Noble, Bowie, Ash, Whitfield, Tom Stewart, LFG. Yeah, mate, I'm not as confident as you are, mate. But we'll see if I hold you, and we'll see how you go. Andrew Griffith says team values at 22.462 million. Am I cooked? Well, you've got 300K more than me, and that's inside the top 10K. I think you're fine.
It's inside the top 5K. So I think that you're completely fine. And I think that, the other thing with these team value rankings, getting them from Beta website, I would actually also say that there is a very big difference between your team value on field and your team value that is accessible to you. I don't care about the value of Jordan Dawson. I don't care about the value of Andy Brayshaw. They are points plays for me only.
They're going to go up.
The more important thing for me is basically everything from Chera on down is potentially accessible team value that I would like to see increase, because there's a world where I see needing to trade them out. So it's a nice little number to, say, oh, yep, I'm in this spot. That's great for me. But it does actually blend in some of your points rank as well, because it is also indexing in, players that you are not considering trading out that maybe have had a calf knock in the middle of Anzac Day and are therefore only scoring 70. That's not great for my team value, but I never bought Nick Martin to trade him out again. So the extent to which he moves up and down matters less to me. So it's not a perfect science. You do need to be continuing to assess your team. And maybe that's how you think better about your team. If you say, well, my team value is crap, but in terms of the players that I've traded in, they've all spiked in value. It's just that some of my starting picks have been rough. I'll get there eventually. I've actually got a really healthy bench.
Yeah. Skills at Cap has got one here. Evening, gents. Been lucky enough to be sitting at 239th overall. Congrats, mate. Good. Very, very good start. Should I go Taranto or Nick Martin? I probably wouldn't go either this week. Nick Martin's a great option moving forward. I'm just slightly worried about the calf knock. Maybe give it a week or two. In Taranto, well, Jordox is looking to trade him out, and for some reason, people are tagging Richmond, and Taranto is being tagged at the moment by Viney, and he got tagged by someone the other week as well for a lower score. So I don't know if I'd go either personally. If there's any other options there.
Out of the two, though, I'd go. Don't know his name. That's how tight I am. The Essendon boy. Jesus, you just said it.
Martin.
Martin
for the DPP.
We've got a super chat here from Hugh, who I know for a fact is a good friend of the show, Louis. Keeler in. I don't think we can consider Keeler. Or if I'm missing the joke, I'm not sure if I'm missing the joke.
Unfortunately, Bales, this is a joke that you were all destined to miss because it is a group chat in joke that will fall upon deaf ears to the rest of the community. Shame on Louis for bringing that out into the world. That should have stayed in private. Outrageous.
Louis,
he spent money to do it too.
Yeah, we appreciate this. We appreciate the support, Louis. Very much appreciate it. Skills at Cap says, he said, follow up saying, should I do TDK to Cherry and later to Lindsay? So obviously, Liam, I don't know if we're bringing Lindsay in at this stage, but what are your thoughts on doing the TDK to a Cherry or a Marshall trade? Obviously, TDK was good last week and comes up against a tough matchup this week. But after seeing a 117, can you trade him out and go to a Big X or even a Marshall?
It's a good question, and it's one that I've grappled with for about 5 minutes and then decided it's all a bit too difficult and I'm just going to try and fix the rest of my team because I don't feel comfortable with a bunch of other positions. I am of the view that the rejuvenation in TDK partially comes from the fact that he knows that once he goes off the ground, he'll actually get a proper break. Or if he needs a break in-game, there is a forward capable of rucking for him. And I think that had a noticeable effect on how he was able to score in the fourth quarter and in the second half. I wouldn't personally be trading him out at the moment, even in spite of the more difficult matchup. I think that you are going, it's Adelaide this week? It's the clumsiest against one of the most capable. I think that I know where I stand on this matter and who will be able to score around the grounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think trading DeConning... I'm not even convinced Cherry's going to end up ahead of him at the end of the year. I'm not convinced of that. I don't think Cherry's back to his 2024 scoring.
He's kicking at least.
He's doing great. Don't get me wrong, but his marks and his tackles aren't anywhere near what they were last year. And
do you have Cherry?
I wouldn't be. I do have Cherry, and DeConnings, but I just, for what I've seen from DeConning, is a guy who could be the number one ruck in the game by the end of the year. And that doesn't always translate to fantasy, but I just couldn't trade him out. Pitting it in would certainly change the conversation, but I
can't see that happening the way he's playing,
No.
And not with how good Mackay looked coming back and the fact that Kerno also had his mark in the forward line. Mm-hmm. They looked back to the best version of Carlton, which relies on their midfields and their key forwards and doesn't need their C- small forwards to do anything.
Yeah. Sean's got a question here, Jordy. Should I go Petrarca this week and Sheasel next week since the break even is 127 for Sheasel, or just get Sheasel straight away? So it's a good question because obviously a lot of people look at the break evens and go, could I wait a week? Nick Dayos had a near 140 break even again, and he had the Jordan tag, and obviously people have now that's like missed him, right? I went Brayshaw, but I'm pretty happy with Brayshaw. But what are your thoughts on Sheasel? He's got a pretty nice run, obviously the early buy. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you can get him next week. Break even 127. Like, he's going to have a massive score to beat that. And even if he does, he's not going to go up heaps. As long as you can get him next week, I think, because I do think he's a good option. But also Petrarca, like last 2 weeks, high CBAs now. Like, he's pretty lucky that if 3 tons in a row, he's got West Coast this week. I think Petrarca get him this week, and then we get to look at Sheasel. What if Sheasel drops 100? He's going to go down a little bit more. As long as you can get him next week and you've planned for it, I reckon.
Two things as well, just to mention. If you're going Sheasel, you're obviously locking out Thursday night. That comes with risk. We've seen how some coaches are incapable of understanding how the sub should work, and therefore you do come with some risk in locking in your massive upgrade so early in the round. In terms of Petrarca, it's not something that I'd thought about much until today. Is he going to be the player that cops the tag from Jack Hutchinson, who has been the tagger the last 3 weeks, was capably able to put in a bit of time on Zach Merritt? I don't think it's a guarantee, though, because I don't think Hutchinson has the capability as a defender if Petrarca drags him forward. But in terms of points around the ground, I think Hutchie has shown himself to be, A, a very competent tackler, and B, more than a sufficient endurance athlete to tag. Just something to flag if you are wavering on who to trade in.
Yeah. It's Edge said it's me who's spamming the chat. Bigger priority to trade out Sanders or Ashcroft? Jordox, who are you trading out, Sanders or Ashcroft?
Probably Sanders, kind of similar to what I was saying earlier about Farrell. Sanders could hit another high 80, 90 this week and seduce you into keeping him longer, whereas Ashcroft, we're going to trade him out at some point for sure. So, Sanders.
And Sanders 130 will seduce a lot of people. But we've also now seen 2 weeks in a row, this iteration of St Kilda is allowing massive scoring from high half forwards who just drift. Like Zach Bailey had, 122 last week? You talk about the fact that Rayner had a massive first quarter. That's what St Kilda are allowing at the moment. They're a side that's adrift. I don't think that's sustainable. Sanders was still getting high in the game against GWS. He's just not getting 9 marks in transition because he's going up against a capable defensive unit. And I think that Sanders has a pretty tough run for the next few weeks. So I would personally prefer to be trading out Sanders because I also don't know how much more cash he's going to make you. And he's a great launching point to a premium forward or a premium mid. It's not going to take too much to get up to someone where we're not sitting there going, oh, are they close enough to top of their line? I think he's a pretty great spot to trade out this week. Yeah.
Glenn Bartlett, need a defender, boys. Who do I get? I've already got Sheasel. Jordox, where are you going with defender? Who's the one that comes to mind? If you got Sheasel, who would you get?
I actually wouldn't mind talking about Noble because he came up a couple of questions ago. I really like what he's doing. I think with Noble, his first halves, I'd like to sit down and go through this and come up with a stat, but I just don't think anyone's got a bigger first half to second half split. His first halves are always huge, and then he slows right down. If for whatever reason he starts getting into those second halves, I don't know what's slowing him down, but if he's continuing, I mean, his ceiling's going to be through the roof. But more broadly, in the back line, you've already got shit. I mean, I just love Whitfield. If you can't get to Whitfield, I actually really like Wanganeen Miller. I'm not sure why we're a little bit not sure on him, whether the role's there or, what happens with the role. I don't think he'll stay in the midfield for long. I think he'll end up going back to what he does best.
Will struggle to play. Long plays for Collingwood. He probably won't stay in there and flip with Ned Long.
Oh yeah, why did I say Long?
You just said he won't stay in there for long, and I was being annoying.
Straight over the head.
Liam, I liked it. I like it. I'm not even here. I think with Filippo coming back in, I think we're going to see Wanganeen Miller go to his traditional position, and he's going to be a gun. answer to the question, Whitfield, if you can't afford it, won't get any Miller. Good joke, Liam. I just wasn't paying attention.
Oh, I love it. B Young, what does Jordy think of Noah Anderson as an owner like myself? So what are your thoughts on him as a trade target? So
Most taggable premium in the competition, I think he was told about a month ago.
Was he? I'm actually watching him. I'm worried a bit because watching Gold Coast, so he's the main man in the middle, but Gold Coast are playing wide. So like instead of going into the middle to find him for a mark, they're going wide on the ground. So they're going to their wingers and then they're going into the forward line. And I think it's the Hardwick style. I thought, so my whole thing about getting Anderson was, okay, Gold Coast are going to improve and he's going to improve. And, obviously we see Gold Coast are up there in the top 4. So that's where I was doing it. But after watching it, he's not getting those +6s in the middle and then going forward with it. The only way he's getting it is he's basically having to work to win it as a contested player, and he handballs it out a lot. So I am worried. What gave me confidence recently was Liam just went over those Darwin games. So next 2 weeks, he's got 2 Darwin games. So I personally, when I bought him, thought he was a top 8 and he had improvement. So I'm not trading him or anything, but I'm hoping that he improves. But I am noticing him not getting that ball. But also, this is the same with someone like Tom Green as well that I've realised is Tom Green's not really getting that either. The Giants are also chipping around in the back and they're doing the same thing. So, that's sort of where I see it. But I'm hoping he improves.
I think that obviously last week was tough, but that's also a matchup where he was getting a little bit of attention around the ground, and I think he'll probably have some of the same this week in the Battle of the Bridge. I would say, though, that a positive from me, I owned him last year.
Q Clash,
sorry. Q Clash, he's got... they've got Sydney upcoming, right? Or maybe I'm... Oh, no, they just played Sydney, right? He just had James Jordan. They've got the Q Clash upcoming. I think you'll probably see Jared Berry running around with him. I think that there's a case to be made that he is much improved this year because of his kicking, and that is cause for hope. I think that he was possibly one of the worst kicks inside 50 all of last year, and this year I think his kick rating is in the top 50, top half of all midfielders. And I think that that's telling, and that means that he will pop up for more of those cheap +6s. But I also think there's a learning curve because he's not been that player throughout his career. He has played on too many teams where his role has been to just go, if I'm not open, I'm just kick it long that way. That's where it's going. I'll jog off to that. I'll get Matt to give me the ball and then I'll kick it inside 50. I think that the way that Gold Coast are playing this year is improved for Nando, and I think he has the capacity to be top 8. I just wonder if he's still at that, he's still tailing into that kind of high water mark. It's just going to take a bit of extra time.
Yeah. We've got a couple more here before we finish up. So connecting historical figure to modern figures asks, Nasiah or Sheezel? I am Sheezel out of the two, but obviously both are good options, but I like Sheezel.
Just implore you to look at your buy balance if you bring your
very, very good point. That's another good point. There was one, obviously a lot of questions flying through, but there was one before that said, should we be starting to look at buys? And yes, for sure, that's definitely something you should be looking at now when bringing in your premiums and stuff like that. So, what do we got here? Matt D said, is Dylan Moore an option given the Hawks run and current price Jordox? What are your thoughts on Dylan Moore?
Yeah, I did mind the thought of Dylan Moore last week, just as something different because he's so cheap. And I thought perhaps with Connor Nash out, maybe we'd see a bit more mid-time for him. And I think he kind of had a bit, but I don't know if he copped a knock earlier in the game that sort of affected him. So, yeah, I don't mind Dylan Moore as an option. Just don't expect, the world from him. See him for what he is, an underpriced guy that could get to a 90 average, and then you might have to jump off when the time's right.
Yeah, I like it. We've got two more questions. Camo's got a super chat here. Thank you, mate. Saying, what is the risk in fading Dayos? Is he a must-have? Well, I don't know if there's necessarily many players that are must-haves. Dayos obviously is very, very, would be nearing that sort of territory, but I don't think you have to bring Dayos in. He's expensive, and if your team value's not looking great, then maybe you go for someone that's dropped in price that can score well, and you can target Dayos in the buys when you have the 3 trades. You can do 2 down, 1 up, and start doing that. So it's probably a team by team.
The risk essentially is that he keeps doing what he's doing, and you go against him. Yeah. And with every week, more people are jumping on. So it only kind of works if he falls away from what he's doing. And, if you think it's not sustainable, then back your gut. You don't have to go with what everyone else is doing. But, from what I've seen, he's as close to a must-have for the season 2025 as you're going to get.
Yeah. So it's just something to watch. But, yeah, if your team value's looking great, you can definitely go there. If it's not looking great, you can still go there. But obviously, you just got to figure out what you sort of maybe your trades are looking like. Maybe the next few weeks, can you get the players you want, or you're going to be struggling if no rookies get named? Because that's the other thing, is that rookies are not being named at the moment. Hopefully we get like a Boxall and a Smiley and a few of these other guys. I think Zach Johnson, Liam, one of your Bomber boys, was pretty good in the VFL. I wonder if he gets a debut. Maybe he's the sub first up if he gets a debut at any point, but he's someone then. Obviously, Sardell Hawley. Hasty's another one for people to put if he comes back in the team. If Sire's moving more in the midfield and Sinclair's going to play mid-forward role, does a Hasty slide into a half-back role, not sub 260K? There's a few options, but obviously they are starting to get pretty thin. We did have a question I did want to touch on. This was the last one for the night. Jordy, what are your thoughts on someone's asking, MJ said, is it too late to bring in a Caden Cleary? So I know on the Hat Chat pod, obviously DC was talking about he missed the kick, Caden Cleary, and was looking at jumping on him if we don't get some of these rookies named. He's in the 460s, low break even. What are your thoughts on jumping on someone like him?
Yeah, well, so he's 460 now. That's a lot, isn't it? Yeah, usually I would say, like, I'm looking at like a Matt Carroll who's like that 370 range, which I think isn't too late, but 460 for Cleary, I probably need to look at the pricing. I don't know, Liam, if you've got the DFS pricing. I think, if he can make 100K or 120K going at 60, 70, then I think it's worth it. But we thought like a guy like Moraes was going to do this, and he's stopped at 450. So I think if
what's
Liam
his break even, Cleary?
11, I think.
11, and he's priced at 46. I think based on how the formula works, you'd probably want him to average 70, such that by the time we get 5 weeks from now and you want to start cashing out these kind of players, then he'll have made the 150K. And that's probably more than any other player that we're going to be able to trade in this week. Given that he probably has the highest scoring potential. Like, I know we thought Moraes was going to do it. Moraes had 1 pop scorer and looked really good. He's looked like a first-year player this time. Caden Cleary, obviously not his first season, has the scoring pedigree in the VFL and has put up 370s already this year, or 3 scores over 70. So he's had one bad one.
Yeah, the one against Port, which Port obviously are very restrictive at the best of times and can always have some of these poor scores against them. So, like, people are talking about like you can play clear on field. So, like, if it's an on-field play as well, then it's definitely something you can look at doing with the lack of options coming through. So, because as we said,
I'm going to say it's not too late, because people are trading in Lindsay this week, and he's like 528K.
I would trade in Cleary before Lindsay.
Yes. So I think if he can make 100 to 150K, go 6 to get to 650K, then it's a worthwhile pick. So
what's Langford priced? I know he's over 500K, and you might not be going there, but Liam just shaking the head. I'm
just not going to go there. Like, he's 20 points less per week than Lindsay, and his role is more inconsistent. He's much more likely to get subbed because I don't think he's got a great tank. I'm just not going there. Like, He's averaging like what 50 something, 59 or something for the season. Just I don't like Langford. They've got one great matchup left, and then it starts to get more difficult
tough
again.
Yeah, I
I'd
think
go
so.
Cleary.
Hawthorn, Brisbane, Sydney, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's dreadful. For a bloke who's a mid-forward as a junior who's now been kicked out to a wing because their other mid-forward was getting pissy and actually is much better than him and should be playing midfield minutes. So I'm not touching Langford.
Yeah, fair enough. Alrighty, we'll wrap up there. We keep going for ages, but we have already gone for an hour and 20, so a long one tonight. But hopefully we're able to answer as many questions as possible. I know that I think it was MJ or someone coach panel there also popped in with the Keeler in, not me. So obviously the inside joke continues. No idea what it's about, but I'll hopefully find out, May, once we've stopped recording the pod. So we'll go around the room quickly and we'll check at what our current trade plans are. I'll go reversal this time. I normally go to Jordox or Guesty last. I'll go to Jordox first. What are you looking at doing with your trade plans as of Tuesday night?
I want to get Dayos or Whitfield. I've just decided that I need to get them at some point. So I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'd be happy to get rid of Oliver up to Dayos. I'd be comfortable with that. I've got Chera, so we're going to wait and see what's happening with him. And Max Holmes is really giving me the shits in the back line. So, yeah, maybe Holmes up or Chera or Oliver up. I'm not sure yet. Haven't looked at how I'm going to fund that. But, you know, there's some pretty juicy cows who could be ready to be milked. It sounded weirder than I meant it to. Cashed out on. Lawler, for example, you know, there's some real good cash floating around there that could go down. I think it's where I'm at. We didn't talk about Chera. What maybe we're out of time, but
we touched
what
on
to
it,
do
yeah,
if he's out? Did we?
We touched on it before. Yeah, that went over your head as well.
Maybe I was asleep.
We were chatting before, and I agree with Liam. And Liam said that like he's missing a week. You can still get the same upgrade, which a lot of people probably can. You keep him. He's a loop. He plays Saturday night Saturday twilight against the Crows. So you get a chance to have a look at a few players. So I'd be holding Chera, I think, and you can trade his round 12 by right or trade later on. Jordy, what are you looking at doing with your moves this week?
Yeah, I'm looking at. So I really would love Sheezel. I want Sheezy ball. The way for me to get that, I need to trade Levi Ashcroft to Sheezel, and I've got Garcia on the bench. I need to trade Garcia to Boxall. Now, I don't love that because I think Boxall's going to be sub. If he's not sub Friday night and he's actually playing, then that's perfect. But the problem is Sheezel plays Thursday night. So I need to figure out what I'm doing there. If I have to basically decide if Boxall's going to be the sub or not. Otherwise, I'll probably go look at a prior to a Matt Carroll. I don't think it's too late to get Carroll. I thought he actually looked pretty good.
Had some good moments, yeah.
Had some good moments. And I know Doc and Cowan are in the two. So, yeah, I'll wait on teams for that one. But if I get Carroll instead of Boxall, then that will limit my defender upgrades. So I'm looking in the Josh Dayos, the Jordan Clark, Laird,
my boy,
Trent Rivers areas. And I haven't really decided what I'm going to go for there. Probably Josh Dayos or even Trent Rivers. I don't know. I sort of like Melbourne's Chip, and if he goes 100 this week, he'll make 50K. So it could be a little cash grab.
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking at.
Don't mind that. Liam, what are you looking at doing?
At the moment, I'm looking at doing Garcia and Davidson out, and then I think it's a rookie below 260K or 270. So basically, I can decide to use all my cash and bring in Sandy Brock, who I think will probably get another game at some point, or go down to a 230 and bring in Nick Dayos on the other end. I can obviously do some more interesting rookies in the 300K range. If I get Harry Sheezel, I'm still trying to figure out how comfortable I feel about my buy rank, like my buy structuring, if I were to do that.
Yeah. The trades, I'm still on the same trades I said on Sunday night, because people know I like doing my trades on the before the Sunday. I've still gone. Who was it? Marias on the bench down to Boxall at the moment, as long as Boxall's name, not the sub, and then going Levi Ashcroft up to Harry Sheasel. That's obviously keeping Tom Stewart, which I still don't like. It could be Stewart out instead of Ashcroft. I've got to weigh up what I'm going to do there. I've got to figure out a way to claw this back. No bad team value and bad rank. We've got to hopefully figure out a way to get up. But that'll do us for the podcast. So, Liam, mate, thank you very much for jumping on. Where can the people find you across the socials, and any other closing thoughts?
Look, you can find me on Twitter at LiamFLW Fantasy, and then, you might find me a little bit more on Hat Chat over the next couple of weeks whilst Nathan is on his Asian hiatus.
Beautiful, mate. Jordy, where can the people find you across socials and your closing thoughts?
Yeah, just Jordan DeSanna on X. And again, as you Bales, see how the week goes. And the rookies will dictate the trades, I think.
Yep, exactly. Jordox, where can the people find you and your closing thoughts?
At Jordox 2020 on X. And don't forget about Finders Keepers, the new podcast on Keeper and Dynasty Leagues that I've started up this year. The round 7 review episode is out today. Go and have a listen. Let me know what you think of it.
Yeah, beautiful. And as always, if you haven't followed at AFL Subs, make sure you do that and turn notifications on. You guys passed 3K followers, yourself and Eloise, which is great work you guys are doing there. And it is a fantastic resource. Hopefully, we don't need the sub next year, but this year it is very, very helpful. Turn notifications so you don't even have to open any app or anything. It's fantastic. So make sure you guys do that. And you can find me at BAILSDT, and you can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans across the socials. If you are tuning in live right now, do smash a like on the video. We've got over 150 watching, so let's try and get 150 likes on the video. Very much helps us out. And if you are watching on the replay of the video, smash like, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We're closing in on 4K subscribers. And if you are listening on the pod and can leave us a 5-star rating and review, that'd be very much appreciated. I'll be back tomorrow for Trade Talk, and then Captains on Thursday. And then Friday, our pre-lockout chat, as always. It'll be at 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. per time, answering all your questions there. And we will chat to you guys later on the week. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. See ya.
See ya.